Welcome Junior Tukkies, I'm Miss Kutsia and today we will do the excretion system. We will also look at the musculoskeletal system and then lastly in the video we will look at the nervous system. So let's focus first on the excretion system and what the functions are and the different components. So what is the purpose of the excretion system? So the excretion system is responsible for removing metabolic waste from the body. So these are things like water, carbon dioxide, or urea. So there are different excretion organs in the body, not just the kidneys as in the previous photo. So the lungs will excrete carbon dioxide and water vapor. The skin will remove water and salt in the form of sweat. The liver removes lactic acid, which builds up when you exercise, and also bile pigment. And the kidneys are responsible for removing water, urea, and ammonia. But during the excretion system, we are going to look at the following main components. So firstly, we have the aorta. Then we have the renal artery. We have the right kidney. We have the ureter. We have the bladder. We have the vena cava inferior, then we have the renal vein, and then we have the left kidney, and lastly we have the urethra. Always remember that it's as if we are looking at someone, so left and right is opposite. In a test, you will not receive a color picture, but a black and white, and your teacher should always indicate with direction the flow of blood. If blood moves towards the kidney, it's always an artery. If blood moves away from the kidney, it's always a vein. So the arteries and the veins closest to the kidney will be the renal artery and the renal vein. You will see the wider and larger blood vessels, which indicates the aorta and also the vena cava inferior. So the aorta comes directly from the heart, which pumps blood from the heart to the kidneys, and the vena cava inferior takes blood back to the heart into my right atrium. Then the functions of these structures are that the aorta transports blood from the heart to the kidney. The vena cava is the opposite, where it transports blood from the kidney back to the heart. The renal artery will transport oxygenated blood to the kidney. The renal vein will transport deoxygenated blood away from the kidney to the heart. Then the kidney regulates water, salt, and the pH in the blood. So the pH will refer to the acidity or the alkali level of the blood. Then the ureter transports urine to the bladder. The bladder only stores urine. It doesn't produce urine, it only stores it, and the urethra will remove the urine from the body. Then there's always health issues related to these body systems. The first one is kidney failure. So this is when someone loses the function of their kidney. So the kidney does not have the ability to remove metabolic waste. That means the metabolic waste builds up in the body, and this can be very fatal if you do not get a kidney transplant. Then we move over to kidney stones. So this forms due to a lack of fluid intake like water. So this means there's a high concentrations of salts and minerals which forms in the kidney, which becomes extremely painful. This results in a small little crystal or stone that forms in the kidney. So sometimes this kidney stone can be passed through the urethra, through the bladder, and simply just urinated out. But most of the time, if this stone is too big, doctors has to break it down into smaller pieces. Then we also have bladder infection, which is a very common infection with women because we have a shorter urethra than men. So bacteria can enter the bladder quite quickly as our urethra is very short, and this can result in swelling and also pain when urinating, or also a burning sensation. It also feels like you have to urinate the whole time, and this is what results in a bladder infection. So let's have a look at our next body system. So the next one is the musculoskeletal system. So this is very simple. It involves the muscles, which allows the body to move, and also the skeleton, which provides an attachment for these muscles and also protection of our vital organs. So what is the purpose of the musculoskeletal system? So firstly, it will provide movement. So the muscle tissues is responsible for movement. However, the muscles also attaches to the skeleton. So the skeleton is an attachment frame for these muscles. It also protects our vital organs. Let's have a look at the different components which is involved. So the important components in the musculoskeletal system is the bones, cartilage, muscles, ligaments, and tendons. So let's have a look at their function. So the muscles allow for movement as muscles contract and relaxes. Bones provides attachments for these muscles and also provides support and protection to our vital organs. Then we have cartilage, which you find between joints to prevent friction between bones. That's also made out of, also makes our noses and our ears. Tendons attaches muscles to bones, and ligaments attaches bones to bones to keep them together to form these joints. Then health issues related to the musculoskeletal system. Firstly, rickets, which is very common in children. So this is usually extreme deficiency of vitamin D, because vitamin D is extremely important for the absorption of calcium. Then also arthritis, which affects much older people. So this involves inflammation and degeneration, the breaking down of joints. So it's inflammation that builds up in joints. So if you look at grandparents, you will see these common symptoms in the hands firstly. Osteoporosis, very common to females over 40. So this is where your bones become brittle and weak due to a lack of calcium and vitamin D. The next system is the nervous system. So what is the purpose of my nervous system? So the nervous system is very, very important. So this transmits nerve impulses between the brain, the spine, the muscles, and also my sense organs. The nerves in our body receives a stimuli from the outside of the body or from the environment. So these, my ears, my eyes, my skin, and my tongue will react to the stimulus. These are then turned into electric impulses, which is sent to the brain. And then finally the nerve or this impulse gets sent back to a muscle in order to react to this stimuli. So the components of the nervous system involves the brain, the spinal cord, and also all the nerves which runs to every single muscle and gland in the body. So the spine and the brain is part of the central nervous system. So the brain will send and receive nerve impulses. The same for the spinal cord. Nerves will transmit these electric impulses. And then we also have our sense organs. So they get stimulated by the environment. So things that you smell, hear, or taste. So our sense organs will be specifically our eyes, we see things. Then we will look at the ears, is things that we hear. Then also the nose will be something that we smell and how we will react to it. Then we have the skin, and then lastly the tongue. So this is a very nice one because this is how we react to taste, how things taste, if it's nice, if it's sour, and this is what and how our nervous system will then react to these stimuli. So health issues related to the nervous system. So let's have a look at trauma and injury to the brain or the spine. So this prevents the brain from sending and receiving messages to the body, and a person can be paralyzed. This occurs because of damage to our nerve cells. So this all depends on where the damage occurs in the spine or the brain, and that will determine the severity of the injury or the trauma. Then also we have a degenerative disorder. So something like Alzheimer's disease. So this is a neurological disorder that causes the brain to shrink and the brain cells to die. So this leads to memory loss, confusion, problem finding words, etc. The next health issue, which is also a degenerative disorder, so this is a progressive nervous system disorder that affects movement. So symptoms start gradually. Sometimes it starts with small tremors in the hands, and later on it is tremors throughout the body. Then lastly, we will look at multiple sclerosis. So this is a central nervous system disorder. So it causes the breakdown of this fat substance which is produced around the nerve cell. So common symptoms is vision problems, muscle spasms, loss of balance, and also cognitive problems. So it affects the transmission of the nerve. If you look at your two nerve cells on the right hand side, the one on your most right hand side is a normal nerve cell, and you can see that electric impulse is quite fast in comparison to the left one, where the electric impulse just stops to be transmitted as it's very slow and it loses energy. And that is it for my 3 body systems in this video. Make sure to watch my last video on our last body system, which has to do with human reproduction and how the body changes during puberty.